Marche.
What is it?
Marche.
No, well, no,
Oh.
in English.
Recognizing that all beings are your mother.
Okay, and next
Or
one?
have been your mother.
Have been your mother, yeah. Or are you, yeah, have been your mother, right, okay. And then next one?
Remembering your kindness.
Yeah, okay.
And then repaying the kindness.
And repaying, right. And so then that brings us to the next one, number 4. And they say these 3 lead into this next one. So the next one is Yi Ong. So please say Yi Ong.
Yi Ong
Jampa.
Jampa.
Yi Ong Jampa.
Yi Ong Jampa.
Yi Ong means pretty or lovely. And I put the Tibetan down just because it's kind of fun, and if you write it down in about 5 years when you're like translating Tibetan, you'll look back on the first ones that you wrote and say, wow, look at how I wrote that. That was really, very primitive. These courses were designed to train teachers and translators. So, I mean, we're not doing very much Tibetan. I don't really know it very well. But the courses were designed to train teachers. So I think it's something you should keep in your mind, that it's part of what these ACI courses are, is to ultimately teach it, which is the real gift, is to get the privilege to teach it, because that's when you're really forced to try to understand it, because someone's going to want to ask you something that you have to figure out, like, can I approach that from a different place so that I can answer it. So anyway, this one's Yeong Jampa. This is number 4. Yeong means pretty and lovely, pretty or lovely, and Jampa means love. Jampa means love. That's the Tibetan. Sanskrit, maybe you heard, is Maitri, is love. Maitri. Maitreya, the future Buddha, means love. Maitreya is Jampa. So this one is loving kindness. This 4th one is loving kindness. You long to make them happy. So the very highest way of repaying them is to make them happy, to put them in a state of happiness.
And this is your mother, and therefore everybody, by virtue of that.
Yeah, this is. You say this again? What?
So if we're saying that everyone's been your mother,
right,
and you long to make them happy,
right,
I'm guessing them is your mother, and then since everyone's your mother, you long to make everyone happy. And I think it'll become clearer when we get to the next one. So the first thing you want to do for all these mother beings, you recognize that they're your mother. You remember their kindness. You want to repay them, and what you want to give them is happiness. Yeah.
That's the sense of this one. You want to put them in a state of happiness. And so so they say the first 3 as a group are the cause for 4. Having those 3 things are the cause for 4. And the description of it is you feel obsessed to make them happy, and that you see them as very appealing, like, and when we get to the next one, it'll become more clear. But they just seem so. You just look at them and your heart just breaks. You have this. They just seem like something so there's something so appealing about them, so I don't want to say attractive, because it doesn't have to do with physical beauty. It has to do with just they're so appealing to you, these mother beings, that you want to make them happy. I was thinking it's kind of like, you know, how we feel about baby anything. You know, like if you don't happen to be a cat or a dog person, but it's hard to resist a little kitty or, you know, like a little puppy. You know, there's something so appealing, like you want to take care of them or something. So it felt to me like this loving kindness had that kind of quality about it. You just have that feeling, like, you know, something so appealing about them. So that's Yeong Jumpa. And I think when we let's talk about the next one, and we can look at both of them together.
You want cookies?
Don't even do that.
So next one is Nyingje Chenpo. So please say Nyingje
Ninja
Chenpo.
Chenpo.
Nyingje Chenpo.
Ninja Chenpo.
Anybody know what Nying means?
Heart.
Heart. Yeah.
I'm
It means
cheating.
heart. What?
I'm cheating. I have notes from the.
Oh, okay, that's okay. Hey, that's fine. That's totally okay. Okay, but now, since you know Nying, J, what about J Tsongkhapa? What does the J mean in J Tsongkhapa?
Lord.
Lord, right. So Nying J, this means heart. Nying means heart. J means Lord. And Chenpo means great. Yeah. So so Tibetan you read backwards. So Lord of heart, that meaning is compassion. Or in Sanskrit is karuna.
What was Chenpo?
Maitreya? Oh, japa is love.
Chenpo.
Oh, Chenpo, great.
Great.
Chenpo, great. So Nyingje is the Lord of Hearts, which is compassion. The Lord of Hearts is compassion. Chenpo is great. So number 5 is great compassion. So 4 is loving kindness. 5 is great compassion, wanting to take away their suffering. So, and there's different presentations of these two. In the Lam Rim, in this book, loving kindness comes first and then taking away their suffering. But in other presentations, sometimes the suffering comes first, because you want to take away their suffering first. You want to take away everyone's suffering first, and then make them happy. You know, so you know, it's like if somebody's toe is caught in a mouse trap, you'd want to remove the mouse trap first before giving them dinner, as opposed to giving them dinner and then taking the mouse trap off, right? So one is great compassion, removing them from suffering, and then the other one is giving them every happiness. So it's just, you know, it seems like it's a toss-up which one comes first. But in this presentation here, you're making them happy, and then you're taking away their suffering. And let's see. And I think the sense of it here, in terms of why this one comes before this one, is that you need to feel that they're so appealing that you would want to take away their suffering. So that's the sense here, like that being is so appealing, I want to take their suffering away. And so you would need that first, you would need that loving kindness first, to then have the emotion of wanting to take their suffering away. So love wants to, the fourth one is like love wants to give, and compassion wants to take away the suffering. Compassion wants to take away suffering. Yeah. Okay. So now next one. Can I erase the top ones?
Yes.
Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now we're up to number 6. So number 6 is Laksam Namdak. So please say Laksam
Laksam
Namdak.
Namdak.
Laksam Namdak.
Laksam Namdak.
Yeah. Laksam means extraordinary thought. Laksam means extraordinary thought or extraordinary state of mind. And Namdak means totally pure. And so this totally pure, extraordinary state of mind is called personal responsibility. So Laksam Namdak is personal responsibility. Laksam Namdak. This one's very famous. You'll see this one often. Laksam Namdak, personal responsibility, right? This one means I will do it if no one else, even if nobody else is doing it. I will do it. And I don't care if no one else helps me, I will do it. And I think this is the one where you start getting the feeling of how much you're in the trenches with bodhicitta. You know, and how much that it's not a wishy-washy wish, that it's tough because you won't get any thanks. You mostly. You'll even get resistance from perhaps from who you're trying to help. But you have this personal responsibility now. And there's a story of this bodhisattva who a demon turns himself into a human being and goes to the bodhisattva and asks the bodhisattva for his eye. And so the bodhisattva, like, you know, reaches in and grabs out his eye and then gives it to this, you know, this being who then takes the eye and smashes it on the ground. And then they say that this bodhisattva is somebody who has bodhicitta, was a bit upset about this, and you know, got a little bit angry or discouraged. But if you remember last week when we talked about the benefits of bodhicitta, you can't lose it once you have it. So even though he got angry, he didn't lose his bodhicitta. But this is just to explain, like, you know, your eye. I mean, this is pretty serious. You want somebody to be at least a little bit grateful that that you pulled your eye out. Yeah, that's the personal responsibility, that you will do it. You will do it no matter what. You, beyond discouragement, you won't be discouraged. And so this one here, though, I mean, this sort of sounds like, okay, this is, you know, this is still the step before bodhicitta. You don't have bodhicitta yet. And this is, there also seems to be some kind of translation of bodhicitta as being universal responsibility. You know, you hear something like that, like this is, you know, this is what that means. But it's bodhicitta is not universal responsibility yet. We're not there yet. This is number 6. We have one more to go. But this one here is a direct cause for bodhicitta, which is the next one. And it's what turns into bodhicitta. You have to have this feeling like, I'm going to do it, and no matter if nobody else does, I will do it. So you want them to be free of suffering, right, in number 5, because we were talking about how this is a cause and effect method, right? So how as we've gone down the line, each one causes the next one. So you want them to be out of suffering, right? Ninje Chenpo. You want them to be out of suffering, and 6 is, I will do it. I will do it. So that's Lapsang Namda, which then brings us to number 7. So does anybody remember the Tibetan for bodhicitta?
Chen, is it something to do like Chen Rezig?
What means Changsem.
Okay.
Yeah, so Changsem, it's Changchub, which they kind of abbreviate it to Chang. Yeah, let me write it down. Okay. Changsem. So Changsem. Changsem, Chang is from Changchub. So Changchub is Buddha or Buddhahood. Sem means mind. So sometimes it's Changchub Ki Sem. So it's developing the mind of a Buddha. So it's not a Buddha yet. It's the developing the mind. And so Changsem is bodhicitta. So number 7 is you finally have gotten to bodhicitta. And I don't know, for me it was really interesting to, it's almost like I kind of forgot this last one. And how I forgot it is that because I think you can get caught up in this personal responsibility thing, but you get caught up in a personal responsibility thing in a worldly sense. And so what I mean is, at this point, at Changsem, at bodhicitta, you understand I must become a Buddha. I must become a Buddha because, okay, you have personal responsibility, but what exactly are you doing for anyone? And you know, there's just so many meals that you can make for someone. There's just you know, so many, you know, bringing them to the doctor. It's all focused on
it doesn't take them out of their ultimate suffering. It's only it's only helping them in a way that is important to help them in. We must do this. We can't not do it, but we need to be focused on understanding that the only way I can really help someone is by becoming a Buddha. Because then I will know exactly what the other person needs. At this point, we're just guessing what we think somebody else needs. We keep buying bowling balls as presents for people without really understanding what each person really needs. And as a Buddha, one of the qualities of a Buddha is you understand all your needs. You achieve all of your needs and everyone else's at the same time. And I think that will become more clear when we get to next week's class about correct view. But they say even ultimately you can't teach Dharma unless you're a Buddha, because you would know exactly what everyone needs to hear at a certain time to bring them up to the next level. You would know, because you can read minds, you would know what do they need to move to the next level. So at this point, you finally understand, I must become a Buddha. I must do that if I want to really help everyone. Yeah, and I think at number 6, you're not quite sure what to do, and there's a lot of banging your head against the wall in number 6, you get caught up in thinking, this is how I can help someone, this is how I can help someone, and it's incomplete because you don't really know how to help them. So the other part of that is you understand now, I must become a Buddha. At the same time, it still means that you need to give your seat to somebody on the subway. It still means you need to cook that dinner for somebody. You still need to, it's not like you're in some, yes, this 7-step cause and effect instruction is your meditation, is the thing that you're trying to develop, and at the same time you need to be doing all of those ordinary things that help people in ordinary ways as well, and all of that feeds on setting you up to understand what it means to I must become a Buddha. So that's the last one. I must become a Buddha, and you totally understand that now at that point. So then remember the zero, that you have to go back to the beginning, where I said please leave a space for first you had, so the first one was recognize that all beings are your mother, and so they say that there's a preparatory state that you need to cultivate before you can even get to recognizing that all beings are your mother, and that is before number 1, the preparatory, the prep for the other 7 is Tangnyeom. So please say Tangnyeom.
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 Tangnyeom means equanimity. Tangnyeom means equanimity. So it's feeling towards all people the same, not biased. It's like when we sit down to meditate, we do the breathing that we do to get to some kind of neutral position. This is about getting before you can think about recognizing all beings as your mother, is getting yourself into this kind of neutral position where you're feeling equal towards everyone. And I think it's a good, developing this neutrality, like I find it interesting, like in situations like on a plane or in an airport, or where you don't really know anything about anybody, like where does my mind go? Am I feeling yeong jampa? Am I feeling like pretty love for all of these people, or am I like feeling some kind of like annoyance, or like just general kind of thing? So that kind of situation you can watch. Where does my mind go? And work on developing some kind of neutrality towards everyone, and just being aware of it. I mean, for so much of this stuff, just even being aware of what your mind is doing and where is it going is a gigantic leap in moving in a different direction. And then everybody wants happiness, and nobody wants pain. We're all the same in that way. It's not, there's probably some special groups that like pain, but it brings them happiness. So the point is that we all want happiness, and we don't want really things that are suffering. And so I wanted to read to you from page 107. Oh. Okay. Now there are also some people around who think to themselves, but I do have the wish for enlightenment. After all, at the beginning of all my devotions, I recite the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha prayer and think about achieving Buddhahood so I could help every living being. This, though, is just expressing a hope that you gain the wish for enlightenment. It's just making a prayer about the wish. It's not the actual wish itself. If it were, then developing the wish to achieve Buddhahood would have to be the very easiest of all the many practices of virtue we are supposedly trying to do. And so, concluded our Lama, we must rather gain this true wish by putting our minds through the training described above, one by one through each of the steps in order. And so that's our meditation for this week, is to go through a little bit about thinking about past and future lives. Just run through that in like you do a little review meditation on, well, what is that idea of past and future lives? How do we prove that? And then run through all of these different steps and think, well, what's the first one? What's the second one? Think about the different qualities of each one, and that's the meditation for this week. This is on the homework. The homework is do you know where you can get all the you'll tell me, Ken, and we'll write it again, where you can for all of the ACI courses you can get readings and homeworks and quizzes, and I think this is online, right, this book?
Yeah, and a different format, right?
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And there's all of these courses have homeworks and quizzes and meditations for each day. And I mean, the meditations are really they're really key. I mean, it's just key in general is to develop some kind of habit of meditation every day, you know, and it's hard. I would say that the main thing is to start really modest, you know, like, because normally when you first start, you're filled with piss and vinegar, you know, like, hey, I'm going to meditate for an hour, and then the first, busy day, you can't do it, and then once you break that, it becomes harder to go back. So, I wouldn't be shy to start as modest as you need to, and then meditate for 5 minutes, and then after 1 month bring it up to 6 minutes, and then that's developing a lifetime of doing it, starting modestly and not making yourself crazy and trying to do too much, and so if you get the routine going, get the habit going. The habits are hardest to break. The older you get, the harder the habits become to break. They become more and more impossible to break. So getting good ones is very useful. Identifying the bad ones and getting rid of them is also very useful. So, next week we go on to the last part of the 3 principal paths, which is the talking about emptiness and correct view, and then we have 2 classes on doing that.
So there's 2 more classes?
We have 2 more, and then we have a review class.
Okay.
And so then what Michael and I wanted to do, since he taught the first group, is that the 2 of us will come, and the both of us will, because the ones he taught, we'll do the review, and then the ones that I did, this way we'll do it together, and we can just do it as more discussion, whatever people need.
Great.
So, and then we go over the whole course that way. That's the review. So, and so I made copies of the last. This last prayer that we do, the dedication, of the goodness that we did by even talking about, removing other people's suffering, like what kind of, how many people are doing that tonight, so let's dedicate, thank you.
Can we do this once?
Once, yeah.
Di Gyokun Sunam Yeshe Sok Shin Sunam Yeshe Lejungwe Tampa Kuni Topa Shok.
So thank you for coming. It's very nice for me to do this, so
Thank you.
please keep coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.